We live. I'm always weirded out by this because it'll say that I'm live, but then the timer won't start. All right, guess we're live. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Full Blast. I am your host, Raja Burrows, and this is going to be sort of a continuation of the video that V and I did. Really, again, diving in very specifically onto a concept that we talked about um, in our discussion that I've been thinking about it a lot, and I think that it's a really useful paradigm when it comes to making decisions. And here's why I say that. A lot of times, again, obviously in OP, there's a lot of talk about the deciders being the ones that make the decision. Ultimately, right, it's either a reasons-based decision or a values-based decision, right? T versus F. And the premise goes that somebody who is more fully formed, somebody who is better at using their demons, whatever, will be able to make decisions using either. But there isn't really there isn't really a lot more in terms of like, okay, how or when or can we, I don't know, just do the right thing and do all the things all the time and hope you're right. Like, it's not good enough for me. No, we can do better than this. And one of the analogies that V and I stumbled upon is we were talking about filtering water. Um, and we sort of came to this analogy of bath water versus tea water. And the idea is this. The idea is that the quality of water that you need for a bath is lower than the quality of water that you need if you're making tea. And on the surface, you're like, okay, that's reasonable, sure. But what does this have to do with making decisions? Well, the analogy ended up going a lot deeper than that, which is why I can't stop thinking about it. And it's because the decision it's not about either or. It's not about, well, which one trumps and how much and whatever. It's just about how processed the your view of the situation is, and how refined you choose to get. Because ideally, you should be making decisions weighing both, right? T and F. You should be making observations using your intuition and your sensory. Like, that to me is just the default. Now, obviously, you're going to be better at one or the other, or it's a muscle. Like, there's a lot that goes into getting to that level of comfort with all of them. But like, that is not sufficient in and of itself. And more importantly, you don't need to be great at all of the things in order to be successful, or in order to make a good decision, in order to handle a situation well with a positive outcome for everybody, right? And we were talking, about like with the geofiltration, where you start with rocks and you have like sludge water, and then you have a layer of rocks, then a layer of sand, and a layer of finely ground charcoal. And by the time the sludge water gets to the bottom, you have drinkable water, right? And that really kind of blew my mind, because it made me realize where I've been hemorrhaging so much energy, money, happiness, everything, was laboring under this delusion that if I am making water at all, I should always try to be making the best water possible. Not just the best water that I can make, but the best water that could be made. right? And to always be honestly playing the comparison game is really what it comes down to. Is like, well, what's this other person doing, and are they doing it better? And can I be, leveling up my game, or whatever jerk off bullshit phrase is popular on the YouTubes these days. Like, and that's simply not necessary. And in my opinion, the people who are extraordinarily successful, however you define success, it doesn't matter, have gotten incredibly adept at simply knowing how pure does the water need to be, right? Because if I am making tea, then there is a level of purity that water needs. It has to be like if I'm even if I'm about to boil it or not, right? Like if I'm got sludge water and it's got to turn into water for tea, that's going to be a pretty involved process. And I might have to run it through my filtration system a couple of times. It's going to take a while. It's going to be a whole thing to really get it to that level of cleanliness and purity, and like to a point that I'm like really, really happy with the quality of the water, right? But not every situation requires tea water. For instance, if you're taking a bath, the water needs to be clean, 100%. It cannot be sludge water, but it doesn't have to be tea water. And the people, again, who I believe are the most successful, the people that I look up to the most, and regardless of walk of life, are the people who are able to go, okay, this situation needs this level of process and purity. Dope. I'm going to get it to the point that it needs to be and then move on. I was watching an interview with Matt Damon on that off-camera show that we all know and love. It's been talked about a million times on the YouTubes. And Matt Damon was talking about working with Steven Spielberg. And I guess he had some scene where he's got the dialogue. And I think he gets like 2 takes, which isn't very much. And then Spielberg is like, all right, moving on. And they start packing up the gear and moving to the next location. And Matt Damon's like, wait, what? I'm going to be honest. I feel like I could have done that a little better. And apparently, as the story goes, Steven Spielberg turned around and was like, I could spend another 2 hours to make that scene 10% better, or I could pack up, move on, and get the next great shot. I'm going to get the next great shot. And I love that analogy because Spielberg is like, could this scene be better? Absolutely. Is it even a little bit necessary to put in the effort to get that scene to the level that it needs to be? No. That scene just isn't that relevant in the context of the entire 2.5 hour movie. It's not worth the time, the money, the energy, the extra, the overhead. It's not worth any of that because we got another great shot that we need to get. And for the purposes of this scene, for the purposes of this work that we are doing right now, that is good enough. And I bring this up because I think that there is a narrative in a lot of different realms, where there's this idea of like, you should always be trying to make it better and make it as good as you can. And I don't think that's right. I don't think that is a useful way to do anything. I think a much more useful question is, how good does this actually need to be? And being very objective about it and not letting yourself off the hook. If you are doing something and you're like, you know what, that needs to be better. to do what I'm trying to do, to achieve what I'm trying to achieve, that needs to be better. I need to take another whack at that. That needs a little more refinement. That's a very, very different question than how good do I need to, like, how much better could I do? That's not the question. Because now you're getting into not even decider territory, but just ego territory. Because now you're making it about you and your contribution and your thoughts and your perspective and your idea of perfection, whatever. And maybe you're right. Maybe you are not right. But the point is that you're looking at the situation through an unhelpful lens. It is so much more useful to look at it through the lens of, given what I am trying to accomplish, whether that's what I'm trying to accomplish today, whether it's a project I'm working on, whether it's a long-term thing, whatever, given what I'm trying to accomplish, how good does this need to be in the larger context of whatever it is that I am trying to do? And by asking that question, you cut out, honestly, the entire savior-demon dichotomy. Truly. And it's one of the reasons that I think that the savior-demon dichotomy is useful to a point, but I think that it hits the diminishing returns really, really quickly. Because once you have something that you're working towards, the savior-demon state doesn't fucking matter, because you're able to slip right into, you know what, this needs to be better. And then you'll just do it if it matters enough to you. There's no need to like get over a hump and get over, as I talked about in the, self-growth is a scam video, whatever, right? You don't make the work harder. That's dumb. That's a dumb thing to do. Don't do that. I'm gonna move the screen up so that I can be looking into the camera a little bit closer. Oh my God, here we go. I don't know why this mouse has just been kind of derpy. Okay, there we go. Now I'm like kind of looking at you guys a little bit more as opposed to like looking down here. Okay, so the reason why that kind of like really, really rocked me was it totally flies in the face of what a lot of us are taught, especially those of us who are in the sort of abstract, academic, artist world, activist world, like all of that. There really is this, honestly, so the fitness world is a lot better about this, because the fitness world at least is like, there are physical limitations to what you can do. And so it's very, very clear about like mental limitations versus physical limitations, and making those two things discrete, right? But when you're doing, thought work, as Cal Newport calls it, where it's, very analytical and it's very, words and, diagrams and coding and program, all of that stuff, right? Not nearly often enough do we ask the question, is what I am doing sufficient to get the job done? I'll give you an example. This was a couple of years ago. I just moved to LA. I had left basically everything. I like either sold all my stuff or left it in New York and donated, whatever, because I was moving from New York, staying in Albuquerque for a while, and then moving from Albuquerque to Los Angeles. And when I did all the math, I was like, it is dumb to buy things, like, or to ship things. That doesn't make any sense. I'm just gonna, get an air, whatever I need to like land, and then just buy the stuff when I'm there and save a ton of money on moving and movers. And I didn't even have the stuff that it would cost more to move than stuff that I own. It just didn't make any sense. And I remember I was looking at drills. Now, I love the color pink. It's not part of my aesthetic. It's not really part of my palette personally as much anymore. But I love the color. I get so excited whenever I see pink. It's such a happy color. It just makes me happy, right? Hashtag blush and bashful. And I was like, I want to see if I can find a pink drill. And this just really pissed me off because, you know, the pink drills are like made for women, which is okay, whatever, pink tax, leaving all that aside. The drills didn't have the voltage that I needed. The drills for pink drills maxed out at 12 volts. Now I kind of understand the logic, because at scale, if they're making one pink drill for everybody, and they're doing the one size fits all thing, and they can only pick one voltage, most likely their demographic is not going to need or want or appreciate a higher voltage drill. I get it. From a purely capitalistic standpoint, frankly, I'd probably make the same decision, all things considered. But I wanted an 18-volt drill because the stuff I want to be able to like really easily drill into drywall, or, you know, if I need some cement in it or whatever, you know, drill into drywall, drill into studs, drill into, not that I do a lot of like constructing of things, but like I want something that's got some torque, man. So that is an instance of this drill is not good enough for what I need. I need a more powerful drill. And that's the question that we should be asking about our functions. And whenever we're doing function work or working on our daemons, or, you know, blast, play, whatever, it's how refined does this idea, does this thing, does this product, does this emotion actually need to be to accomplish what it is that I'm trying to accomplish? Because I am of the belief that, yes, anybody can do anything, 100%. But the RAM allocation is really, really, really different from person to person. Honestly, even when somebody has worked on something, you're still gonna find like just if I have 4 gigs of RAM versus, you know, if my FI is running on 4 gigs of RAM, and someone with Savior FI, their FI is running on 16 gigs of RAM, well, we will be able to accomplish the same thing. Absolutely. But that person is going to get there 4 times faster. Roughly. Play along. I don't know how computers work. But like, generally speaking, if they're working with that much more power and that much more RAM, their processing speed, they're just going to get there faster. And so for me, my job, you know, let's say I'm making up numbers here. Please do not take any of this to the bank. If it takes a Savior FI user to process a certain feeling, state, emotion, whatever, in half an hour, right? So like, and when I say process, I mean fully process, start to finish, understand all the nuances, the nooks and crannies, the this and that, like really, like fully, yes, we're good, we got it processed. I know what I need to do, and I know all of the ins and outs of why, and the nuances, and the this and that. And I've made the decision. It is a flawless decision, right? For me to get to that point, if it takes them half an hour, it could take me a day. Let's just say, right? or 2 hours. If we want to use the strict math, right? Let's say it'll take 2 hours. Well, the first question is, do I have 2 hours? The second question is that the best use of my 2 hours? Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes the answer is no. That is subjective. Nobody, no type, no nothing can actually tell you that. But what you can do, what you can say is you can go, okay, how nuanced, like how processed does this need to be to make the decision? If it only needs to be like 50 or 60% confident, solid, there, processed, in order for the decision to be successful. And like, if we get to 60%, you know, it has a very high chance of succeeding. And then everything past that, yes, we get a couple more percentage points, but like the bulk of the percentage points are going to be in that first, you know, 60% of the work, right? In that first half hour, let's say. Then I might just stop there and say, you know what? This is my decision. Processing it more is unlikely to change my answer. So why would I process it more? There are better things that I could be using my RAM for. Do I need bath water or do I need tea? Because if I'm only taking a bath, then not only do I need a lot more water than I do for tea, it doesn't have to be quite as clean. It can't be sludge. The water cannot be actively dirty. But I don't necessarily need to, it doesn't need to be potable. If I'm just like in the woods trying to make some bath water to like wash up and whatever, the quality of the water, I need a lot more of it, but the quality can be lower. And I really like that framework, and I've been using it. I've been trying to apply it to a number of things because, as I said before, it's so easy to get caught in this comparison game, and what I'm doing is never enough, and I could be doing it better, and you should always be looking for ways to improve. Abstractly, sure. In real life, that is not how reality works. That is simply not how reality works. You never need, not every decision has to be 100%. I remember we had this conversation at my old tutoring company in terms of like big cultural changes we wanted to implement. And it was, we had what we called the 93% rule. And we said, once you get a certain document, email, whatever, to like 93% satisfaction, send it. Because most likely those extra 7 percentage points of like just really refining it and making it really as perfect as it can be isn't going to change the outcome in a substantial way. And it's going to take a lot longer to get you there. And you should just move on to the next email. In aggregate, it's more important that you get through your emails and get through your inbox than it is to make sure that everything that you write or send is letter perfect. So, you know, I think that's, and I bring this up sort of as a follow-up to the conversation that we had about alphaness, but also as a follow-up to like the scamness of the self-growth industry in a lot of instances, is because if you keep buying into this game of what I do is never enough, I can always be improving, maybe I can get those extra percentage points, then that keeps you in the loop. That keeps you in the like, well, I got to buy the new whatever book, the new, I don't want to name names because I don't want to badmouth somebody I like, and I don't want to badmouth somebody who I don't like, but that somebody else might, whatever. right? But I'll use my own name, right? You don't need to buy the new Raja Burrows book if the new Raja Burrows book is only going to give you 1 extra percentage point. That's probably not the best use of your time and money. Much in the same way, working on your demons to like really hone them and refine, you don't need to do that. It's probably not the best use of your time and energy. And all of this really comes back to something that I feel has been absent from the culture of OP and the conversation of OP, at least since I've been, certainly in the beginning. As I said, I'm not on the Facebook group anymore. I'm less connected to the mothership content. So if this is different, please let me know in the comments below. But one of the things that I feel has always really been missing is this idea of being able to lean on other people, being able to ask for help when you need it. Having another, and it's always, I feel like the way that it gets talked about is like, I wish I could do this alone, but I can't because I'm a dummy. So I have to have other people in my life to check my blind spots. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I think that there is extraordinary value in building trust with other people and in being able to say, I am going to trust you to have my 6 so that I can focus on doing what I need to do. Now, ultimately, at the end of the day, I am responsible for it, but I cannot be responsible for all of the things all of the time. So I am just going to let this ride and trust that other people will take care of it. Because I put in the time and effort to cultivate those relationships. I look out for them. They look out for me. That's how humanity has survived for its entire existence. That's just like kind of foundational into who we are. And, being able to say, you know what? I don't want to work on this. I'm going to trust that this is good enough. Because if it's not good enough and it always needs to be improving, then that's time that we're taking away from other things we could be accomplishing that maybe require more attention, that maybe do need a lot more work and a lot more care. So all of this is to say, when it comes to our demons and when it comes to really anything, ask yourself, how good does this need to be? Given what it is that I'm trying to accomplish. Again, that's very subjective. It could be what I'm trying to accomplish in my personal life, professional life, holistically, for the next day, for the next week, for the next month, for the next lunar, whatever quarter, whatever your frame of reference is, and making that the God, not your functions or your animals, the whole save your demon game falls apart entirely. Because now it's about, all right, well, what needs to be done? What are we trying to accomplish? All right, well, we're trying to, I'm trying to get signed with an agent by the end of the year, by the end of the year. It's my goal. Or to at least be very close. Okay, well, then within that, how refined does my eating process need to be? How refined does my research need to be? Like all of these things, there are a lot of factors that go into it, and investing too heavily into one beyond the point of diminishing returns, it's not effective. It's not going to get you what you want. So I strongly encourage all of you to start asking, how good does something actually need to be? And be willing to look at it and go, I actually think this is good enough. I need this to, and more importantly, if you look at something and you're like, this is up to my standards. If this is not up to the standards of somebody else or the person I'm trying to collaborate with, then that doesn't, then either one of us is wrong, basically, is what I'm getting. I'm trying to not frame it as a like DE demon preach whatever, right? But like having your own set of standards is really important, whether you're DE or DI. Having standards for other people is really important, whether you're DE or DI. But then being able to go, whatever those standards are, what is actually good enough? And where is it important that I keep pushing? Because you only have so much push in you. We only have so many hours in the day. We only have so much energy. We only have so much money. We only have so much stamina. Being strategic about where we apply that leverage is really, really important. So going back to this question of, is this a bathwater situation or a tea water situation? Because if it's a bathwater situation, I'm done. I'm moving on to the next shot. But if there's something that really requires tea, then it's like, all right, if we're making tea, let's just fucking hammer it out. Let's do it. All right, that's all I got for today. Sorry for rambling a little bit. I know I try to keep these on the like 20-ish minute side, but that didn't happen. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I love hearing from you guys. As always, I love you. I see you. Now let's do the damn thing.